All right, Social 20 students, I'm going to make a quick video on writing the body paragraph. All right, so hopefully you've had a chance to look at the first video that deals with the introductory paragraph and all its components. So after you have finished the introductory paragraph, okay, what you should now have is that you have analyzed the source to identify a perspective, whether that perspective is nationalistic, ultranationalistic, or international. Okay. um, More than likely you have decided that that source is a fairly ultra-national perspective because it's really only thinking about themselves and not the international community or nations as a whole. All right, so at that point, now you explore the issue. The issue is the extent that nations should be able to do what they want without any kind of repercussions or thinking about other nations. Okay, let's just look at the source right here. When nations act in an ultra-nationalistic manner, they're merely exercising their right to pursue their own self-interest. Yeah, it's kind of like that person that does whatever they want, not thinking about the consequences of other people. All right, so you've explored the issue. You look at people that might support the perspective, not the source itself, but the perspective of ultranationalism. Who would support ultranationalism? Hitler would, Stalin would, Tojo would, Mussolini would, etc. And then people that would oppose that perspective of ultranationalism. You know, Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, Winston Churchill. Okay, might be examples of individuals that would oppose that way of thinking. All right. So now you've done that, you've explored the issue, maybe you've come up with a little bit of a hook at the beginning. Now you need to come up with your thesis, and the thesis is the extent in which you embrace, reject, or challenge the source. So you get back to the template here. And so now where we're going to kind of go from here is you have arrived at a thesis and you've come up with reasons why you embrace ultranationalism or reasons why you reject ultranationalism. And I would argue that a lot of you are just going to argue against ultranationalism. So, you need to find reasons. And so those reasons would be found here. Reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. Okay? Like I said, put your strongest argument last. All right, so like I said, kind of go with that. Now let's get to the body paragraphs. Now there's a lot of things to unpack here, and I don't want you to spend a ton of time getting confused and wrapping yourself around on this. Let's just start writing. So you take what you put here in this first theme, reasons why you would embrace or reject ultranationalism. Well, what's one reason? Okay, so it could be something to the extent ultranationalism invariably leads to destruction. Okay, that might be a reason. Or another reason might be ultranationalism has caused. I'm just kind of spitting it off the top of my head, but the consequence of ultranationalism has led to terrible acts in history like genocide. Okay, so whatever. I mean, you could come up with a number of reasons why the perspective of ultranationalism needs to be rejected. Okay, so you would take that first thought, okay, maybe something that has led to lots of destruction, and you would create a topic sentence. Okay, a topic sentence is your first supporting argument. Okay, the topic sentence, like you know, adherence to an ultranationalistic perspective, as found in the source, would lead the world to uh, lots of destruction, something like that. That could be a topic sentence. Now obviously you have to write it a little bit more clear and more succinct than that, but a topic sentence is a sentence of opinion, okay, that is part of your thesis. Okay, it helps explain your thesis, that you embrace the perspective, reject the perspective. So now that you've stated your supporting argument, that first topic sentence, I don't really think you need to worry about the counter argument at this point, unless you are really assured of what you're doing. All right, so kind of just skip that for now. So you have that first supporting argument. Now you need to explain what you mean by that. Okay, go into detail, deconstruct it. Okay, elaborate on it a little bit. Okay, so and then once you've done that, you need to provide evidence that would back up your argument. Okay, it says specific, relevant case study examples developed comprehensively. Okay, it could be theoretical, meaning some philosopher's theory. Okay, it could be certainly historical, which I would support because we've been learning a lot about history in the last unit. It could be the Holocaust. It could be what Stalin did to the Ukrainians. It could be the Armenian genocide. It could be a bunch of things. All right, so explain that current event in detail, but make sure as you explain a current event that it relates back to your supporting argument. Okay, always, 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 as you explain your argument, link it back to that argument and link it really back to your thesis. How does that argument strengthen your position? Okay, so if you think that the source's ultranationalistic perspective is terrible, okay, because it can lead to lots of destruction. As you have your topic sentence basically says it can lead to lots of destruction. You explain that, and then your case study should talk about an event that led the world to lots of destruction. I mean, obviously, the rise of Hitler and the subsequent start of World War II and World War II itself is a really good example of how when you let ultranationalistic regimes take control, it can lead to lots of trouble. So you would make sure that as you explain it, you link it back. And so that kind of goes to this last part. Link what you said in your evidence back to your topic sentence and ultimately back to the thesis statement, okay, in relation to the source. All right, so like I said, this is your first argument. Your second argument is usually your weakest argument. And I hope you don't have a weak argument, but I do want you to leave your strongest argument to last. Okay, so you'll have that one. And then you have your third supporting argument, which is usually your strongest argument. Okay, you could say the consequence of ultranationalism and nations, and a lot of times you can quote segments of the source. Okay, Hitler was pursuing his own self-interest, as he was expanding his empire, etc. Okay, you know, the most compelling argument against ultranationalism is that the consequences that occur because of it. But I would make sure that as you look at the reasons that you're using to argue, um, make sure they're not the same. Okay, so if you're going to use the Holocaust in one source, don't use um, a genocide argument in another source per se. Okay, there's a lot. Like I said, look up reasons against ultranationalism. I mean, one, like I said, obviously, is that it could lead to horrific occurrences. Okay, people within countries are scapegoated, and usually are the result of that could be genocide. Certainly crimes against humanity, certainly displacement, mistreatment. Okay, manipulation, etc. So, anyways, so you have that third supporting argument. Same thing. Explain it, provide evidence in a case study. Okay, and when I think of case studies, once again, I know I'm repeating myself. Okay, lots of case studies that you could use. If you're going to use a genocide argument that ultranationalism could lead to genocidal acts, you could use the Young Turks, what they did to the Armenians in 1915. Certainly, you use the Holocaust. Okay, you could use Stalin and the Holodomor. Okay, if you're going to use an argument that ultranationalism and that way of thinking can eventually lead to very large conflicts, you could look at you know World War One and how Germany issued Austria-Hungary a blank check that their ultra-nationalistic desires to have the so-called place in the sun ultimately led a smaller incident, the assassination of the Archduke, into something worldwide in scale. Okay, so like I said, there's lots of angles that you could use to make an argument here. Now, some people might argue that, adopting some aspects of ultranationalism would be good. And I'm not saying to do it or not to do it. I'm just saying think about it. There are arguments in favor of ultranationalism. One argument in favor of ultranationalism is that it brings a sense of order to a country. Okay, people aren't sitting around debating and discussing and stuff like that. Things just get decided and done. Now, if you're in the group that is favored, that's good for you. But if you're in the group that is oppressed, that's not good for you. Another argument that people have for ultranationalism is that it gives people a sense of belonging. Okay, you belong to something larger than yourselves, an organization, etc. Okay, and then a third argument is that sometimes ultranationalism um, gives people a certain amount of, and I don't want to call it democratic freedom or political freedom, but if you don't have to worry about um, and maybe economic freedom. If you live in a communist society, you might not have opportunities to be really successful, but at the same time, maybe you don't have opportunities to fail. Okay, so it actually brings about a certain freedom that you're just allowed to live a life based on what you can do for that society. But I digress. I would probably make the argument that most of you are going to have arguments that are against ultranationalism. All right. With that all said, then you now have a concluding paragraph. And really, a concluding paragraph in some ways is a restatement of the opening paragraph, but kind of in reverse order. So the first thing you would do is just basically restate your thesis. Okay. And then you would summarize your supporting argument. So you would restate the thesis that was outlined on this page here. Okay. And you would summarize the supporting arguments that you placed here in the blueprint or in your topic sentences. Okay, like I said, body paragraph one theme or blueprint matches topic sentence number one. Body paragraph two matches topic sentence number two. And then body paragraph three theme and blueprint matches topic sentence number three. When you get into the conclusion, like I said, you're restating those supporting arguments. Okay. And then you sum it up. It's kind of the what now. Okay. What should society do now that they know this information, etc.? What to make out of all this information, etc. So the way I'll mark this assignment is that the first couple pages where it talks about the analysis of the source and how it leads into a thesis will be 6 marks. Your argumentation would be your thesis statement, the blueprints, the topic sentences, and the argumentation. And how you're able to link that back to the analysis. That's 8 points. Your evidence, your case studies, your stats, your historical evidence, etc., would be worth 8 points. And then ultimately, your communication, your grammar, your conventions, your organization, and all that is 8 points for a total of 30. All right. Last thing I'm going to say is that the last couple days I have placed or Google Meet sessions so that people could ask questions. I have also looked at, and let me just go here, and I'm not here to rag on you, but I go into here to see if anyone's starting to work on that introductory paragraph, okay? And I am not seeing it being done. Okay, let me just go back here, student work, okay? And as you can see, nobody has started writing anything in here. Okay. This assignment is going to be due before you go away for the Christmas break. And so, yes, you have about a week and a half to work on this, but I figured when I released that video on Sunday that you would be hammering away on that introductory paragraph. And if you had any questions that dealt with the introductory paragraph, you'd be in those Google Meet sessions that I sent out. Okay. Um, I have to prepare you for the diploma exam next year, and part of that is to get you oriented in writing an essay. Okay, so like I said, spend the next couple days working on that intro paragraph. I will peek in, like if you are writing it here, I can peek in and give you a couple suggestions, okay, to how to improve it, how to organize, etc. But I would follow this template, okay? Like I said, analyze the source first, explore the issue, come up with your thesis. The last thing, maybe come up with some sort of hook. Hook is not absolutely necessary, but you can put it in there. And then you're off to the races, so to speak. All right, so there's that little quick video. Um, I'm always available. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to be available today, which is Wednesday, but Thursday I am back in school. And so more than likely I'll schedule something on Thursday. All right, so with that said, take care and I will hopefully see you soon.